Hello, we are now being joined by Ryan Bader. Our first question will come from Jay Anderson.
Hey, thanks very much. And Ryan, congratulations on the win tonight. Obviously a grueling 5 rounds. And, I know you said you felt off after that first round, but do you feel you were able to shake it off after that and fight the fight you wanted to?
Yeah, well, I knew in the first round, I'm like, I'm going to have to gut this one out. Just didn't feel like I should. Ate something, whatever it was. My stomach was just on fire, all crazy. And after that first round, I'm like, all right, I just got to grind this one out, get that win. So I did. It wasn't the prettiest win, but Kongo's a great striker. He impressed me on the cage. He was wrist control, his body awareness, everything like that. So all in all, wasn't the prettiest fight, but got it done, got a win.
There was a fence grab, I think it was in the first round by Kongo, that was pretty blatant. And I'm just wondering, as a guy who comes from a wrestling background, how frustrating are those fouls, especially when refs seem loath to take a point or even take away the position?
Yeah, we just had a conversation with the ref in the back saying, if you grab the cage and it looks like it was going to, change the outcome of a fight or be an outcome basically, and a takedown would be that, he'd take away a point. And it was twice. He said he gave him a warning and then he grabbed it again when I had his knees in the air and he was hanging on the fence, and so I was talking to the ref a little bit during that, and then but it didn't mess with the outcome. So whatever.
A big victory at the end of the day. And you mentioned Linton Vassell after the fight as a possibility. I mean, do you see him as a different sort of challenge now that he's at heavyweight with the success that he's had?
Yeah, I really do. He was a tough guy, at 205 and I know he was a little big for 205 and, cut a lot of weight and he was scrappy. He's one of those heavyweights that's kind of like me. He isn't really a smaller heavyweight, but he moves like a smaller heavyweight. And, he's very dangerous. And like I said, I was very impressed in his last, 4 wins or whatever it was. And the guys he has beat and, he's been on my radar for a while at heavyweight and been a lot of talk. And so it seems like the viable next fight.
And last one for me, you said during media day, I believe that it's heavyweight from here on out pretty much. And I'm curious how much of your success in the division that you attribute to not having to cut that weight.
Yeah, I know it's huge. And for me, it was always one of those, got to be tough kind of deals because I've done it my whole life. I cut weight and 205 is where I came from. And so I said, screw it. I can make it. It doesn't matter. This is what we do. But those fights at light heavyweight, I just couldn't take the shots that I can at heavyweight, and getting older, I'm 38 years old, cutting down 35 pounds and getting in a fist fight the next day is not very conducive to health. And so I really clicked when I fought Moldavsky at heavyweight and I felt great. I took big shots. I took good shots in this fight too, and was fine. So time to move on. It just kept running through my head. Why do I keep on going down? It was because of ego and, Bellator kind of wanted me to come down and obviously defend the belt, but maybe try to get that belt back in the Grand Prix.
Ken, next question.
Hey, Ryan, congratulations on the win. Kay Williams for Ken Chronicles Media. So for the most part in tonight's match, you controlled the pace of the match. Was that a strategic game plan? And also, Kongo is considerably taller than you. How are you able to take his reach away from him in tonight's match?
The game plan, was to kind of get him down, get tired. He impressed me with his cardio. He impressed me with his body awareness on the cage and how hard he was to get off that cage. But we brought in a guy called the Mountain, Antonio, over here, was 6'5", big, tall. And so, training with him, I wasn't, I was able to go in and get in that distance, hit him with some jabs and hit him with some overhands and some hooks and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't a problem. If I didn't have Antonio here, it would be a different story going in there and seeing that length for the first time. But props to Kongo. He did a lot of things great.
Dylan, next question.
What's up, Ryan? Back to Linden for a second. You called out the big swarm immediately following your victory. What specifically intrigues you about that matchup, and how do you feel you match up with Linden stylistically?
Man, it was just a fun fight. The first fight, it was all over the place. You know, he's a squirrely dude. He reminds me of my training partner, CB Dalloway, in the gym, just all over the place and can scramble. And it was a fun fight. I just always look back on that fight, and it was a fun, good time. And I've been watching him in the heavyweight division and looking at the heavyweight division. It was always, Tim Johnson, Kongo, and Fedor was the only three really talked about for a couple of years. And so Linton's kind of made his name, and he's in that mix. And I feel like he's jumped those guys. So he seems like the next logical guy.
Makes sense. Shout out CB. And then also back to Kongo. He said his biggest focus in this training camp was improving his stamina. But did you expect his cardio to hold up the full 5 rounds? And how did he differ from what you expected going to the cage in general?
Yeah, no, I did not. I thought he'd be kind of smoked after 2 or 3. But his cardio was good. I could tell he was tired and whatnot. But he kept pushing. It's a different game. When you're on your butt and you're kind of taking those breaks rather than kind of being on top, and you kind of can rest in spots and all that. But I was very impressed by his cardio for sure. That's one thing that kind of surprised me in this fight.
Definitely. And lastly, we know there was a bit of animosity heading in and you wanted to finish, but you showed a lot of grit and you toughed out a very hard-fought win. So what are your initial thoughts on your overall performance?
Man, I didn't love that fight, but it is what it is. Sometimes you got to go in there and get the job done, and that's what I did. It always can't be perfect. I've had my highlight reel knockouts and fun fights, and sometimes you got to go in there and go to your bread and butter and drown a guy. And that's what I had to do tonight. And there's always the next fight, but I went in there, beat a tough guy, still have the heavyweight championship belt wrapped around my waist, and the best one out there. So it is what it is.
Ronald, next question.
This is Ronald E. Smith from Getting Real. Ryan, congrats on your win. And I just want to go back to what you just brought up on how you said that you got to do what you got to do to get the W every single time. And although some fans may not understand nor agree with it, but so when you do hear fans giving negative reactions to the things that you have to do, how do you discourage it or just block them out so you can continue just get the win and get the job done?
Man, I don't give a shit. I've been in this game for way too long. I have over 42 fights. Like I said, I've had great fights. I've had fights that ended in spectacular knockouts and fought every legend in the sport, and so I can have a fight like that every once in a while and go in there and grind one out and do what I got to do. That just shows my range of, skills and to go in there, go to my bread and butter and grind. We're fighting for world titles here. I'm not fighting a 10th ranked guy in this sport. Every fight I have is for a world title. And so it's the best guy in there. And, like I said, I knock him out. I go to a decision sometimes. It is what it is. I go out there and get the win. I still have that belt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan, for your time. That concludes our session with you.